when you hear SMEs, what comes to mind? Typically, obviously, and again, truly will be the definition by the Ghana Board for Small Industries, which is a company with a turnover of 200,000 US dollars and above, and not beyond 5 million US dollars. Now, check this. The Venture Capital Trust Fund Act, for that matter, which is the 2004 Act 680, defines SMEs as an industry project undertaking or economic activity whose total asset base, excluding land and building, does not exceed the city equivalent of $1 million US dollars. We can go on and on with these definitions, but an SME consultant here in Ghana feels that discourse about small, medium-scale enterprise seem misplaced. Yao Samwa and a group of businessmen here in Ghana are on a crusade to change this linear perception about SMEs in Ghana. He joins me in the studio with more. Good morning to you, Yao.
Good morning.
Thanks a lot for joining us on News Desk.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege.
So what are we not getting right with small, medium-scale enterprises here in Ghana?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert in or a consultant in SME, but basically I'm here to talk about business, and SMEs are business. My understanding of business is that business is life. Business is not a means to an end. It's not something you do because you want to buy a car or a house or you want to take care of your family. It's something you do so you can leave a legacy. And I think if you look at Ghana, hardly would you get any business or any company which is which has exceeded more than 2 generations or even 3 generations. So that tells you the lack and the space we have. Because we start a business 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, it collapses. Not because the people are not intelligent, but because the way we define our businesses and the way we go about our businesses are pretty much not what others in the other world do. And those are the discussions we want to have.
And these definitions that you talk about, I mean, by way of the way we define our businesses, how does it fit into those definitions that I was giving out, you know, one regarding the acts and all that? How does it fit into it? And
so let me give you a scenario. If I went to school with you, let's say London Business School, Harvard, any of the Ivy League schools, and you lived in Germany and I lived in Ghana, if I started a business and my turnover was $1 million, the banks in Ghana would say I'm a corporate entity, i.e. I'm a big company. Somebody, that same friend of mine who lives in Germany, needs about 32 million euros to be qualified as a big corporate entity. So you see the disparity. So you can actually get an SME in Germany or probably any of the European countries who can actually buy some of our banks here. And it's because we've defined ourselves so little. So the question is, have we defined ourselves so little because we are incompetent or because we are in Africa? And those are the things we need to discuss. But I think the chief...
But what are we? Incompetent?
No, I think... No, we are not,
little? No,
I think it's the way we've defined ourselves, and it's the philosophical underpinnings in our businesses. You hardly get any Ghanaian, local, indigenous Ghanaian company which is built on a philosophical base. And I'm saying which has values, which has ideal system, and which has standards, which creates a culture which is promoted. If you take any of the big companies in the world, whether it's Google or Facebook or Amazon and all of them, those guys live a culture. To work in Google or to work in Facebook, it's a whole paradigm shift altogether. And not until we can start thinking about business as life itself and not a means to an end, we can't get it right. And those are the discussions we want to start having.
And I know there's a conference coming on with that. But before we get into your conference, let's have you evaluate you know, how SMEs here in Ghana have fared and the kind of support that they need. Usually that's where the challenge is, isn't it that way?
Look, I don't want to belabor the point. Okay, you know, I always say, before I answer your question, I always say, look, we have a cancer of the mind in this country. We are always blaming somebody. We are always finding excuses for something, and we tend to be very irresponsible. We never take responsibility for anything. Employ somebody, give him a car, he runs it down, he comes back and he gives you an excuse. Fine, we have political challenges, we have infrastructure challenges. Those ones we already know. But there are key things we also have as business people which we are not addressing. And it's very easy to...
What are those things?
First of all, I spoke about definition.
And you said philosophy.
The philosophy underpinning. Then your motivations.
But a lot of businesses have philosophies, don't they?
I want to see them in Ghana. I want to see how many companies in Ghana, indigenous companies, have philosophies underpinnings. Business is not about profit and loss. It's not about I sold it for 2 cedis, so I made a profit for 1 cedi. That's not business. And not all businesses make profits. Some people are in business so they can help society. Let me give you an example.
A large number of them here in Ghana?
Not in Ghana.
Okay.
I'm just talking about in general terms. Take somebody like Bill Gates. He votes billions of dollars, comes to Africa to eradicate malaria or polio. It's business. So he might not be necessarily making profit, but he's changing people's life. And that's what business is about. Business is about changing people's lives. It's not about changing your own life or your family's life. That's just a subset. It's a microcosm of it.
Is a profit, I mean, gaining a profit, shouldn't that be a priority?
It is. It is, but
so it goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
It goes hand in hand.
So what are you suggesting?
I'm basically saying that, look, let's pull the brakes on. Any business worth its salt is not just after the turnover. Any business worth its salt is about how they can change society. So you can take Facebook. They were in business for a while. They were not turning profit. But look at the impression Facebook has created on our world. Or you can take Apple. When Steve Jobs developed his first computer, he never turned profit. But today, in terms of handsets, it revolutionized everything. So you get into business because you want to change people's lives. That's the overarching aim. Now the profit is a consequence as a result of changing people's lives. And if you go into business because you want to make the quick money, you become short-sighted. Your business die after you. Or your business survives only when you are alive. And that's not what you want to do.
And so your point is that is what is not making a lot of SMEs here in Ghana grow.
In Ghana and in Africa.
So by way of the crusade you're embarking on, I mean, as far as your conference is concerned, you're going to be raising some of these issues. What are you hoping to achieve? Because you're looking at a situation where you want businesses in Ghana, I mean, people to go into businesses thinking that, look, we're going to change lives. I mean, it's not about the profit, but the money is important.
No, but look, I work with banks. I work with Vodafone. I work with Airtel. I work with all the big companies in the world, in Ghana. If Vodafone doesn't give me good service and I can't communicate with my child at home, I'm not changing lives. So fine, Vodafone needs money, but Vodafone also needs to make sure I can change other people's life through the service they give me. So that is cheap, you know. And those are the discussions we need to have. First of all, if you want to change a group of people, you need to understand that societies are made up of philosophies. They are made up of people who want to achieve material wealth and all of them. You start by changing their philosophical underpinnings. If you don't change it and you just talk about the form, and I think we tend to focus on too much on form than substance. Let's talk about the real issues. Are businesses in Ghana working together? If I am developing a company culture and you don't have a company culture, I should be able to share it with you so that you don't make the same mistakes I've made. If you have $1 million in assets and I have $1 million in assets, I don't need to hold my dollars and go and do business outside. Why don't we put our $1 million together so that we can tackle bigger projects? Those are issues you need and conversations we need to have. You ask yourself, how is it that foreign companies tend to do better than the indigenous Ghanaian companies? Because they have their systems. They work together. If a foreign company is in Ghana and is producing rice, you are sure that he's going to supply all his other colleagues who are in the country doing other businesses similar to them. And
this is because of a business culture they've adapted.
That is it.
So what kind of business culture are you asking or advocating for Ghanaian SMEs to adapt?
I don't have the solutions. I have thoughts, I have ideas.
And what are those thoughts? What are those ideas?
My thoughts and my ideas is, first of all, we need to change the discussion. The second thing we need to do is to work together. We need to be able to look into our faces and say, look, I have this business I want to give you. I'm not taking any 10%. I'm just giving you because...
But what discussion are you talking about? What should we change? You're calling for a change. You say change the discussion, change the thoughts about SMEs. What really are you seeking?
So, and I think I've mentioned it already, we first of all need to have common values. Common values which stretch across businesses. We need to have common standards. If a tailor is sewing my trousers, I expect him to do a good job.
Who should create the standards?
Businessmen.
Who should create these values?
Businessmen. Businessmen.
How are they going to do that?
By having a conversation, by making sure that we set standards by which members in our group will live by. And those are the things we need to do. We need to be idealistic. What's the ideal situation for a business in Ghana or an SME in Ghana? What should he be aiming at achieving? Should he be aiming at employing 5 people and okay, he's arrived? Or if it's a bank, should he be aiming at opening 10 branches and it's okay across the country? Or he should be aiming at expanding to the rest of West Africa or to Africa or to the Middle East? Those are conversations you need to have. But underfoot with all of these conversations are, how do I get there? And not until we start comparing notes and we start opening our books. But it also has to do with trust issues, because we don't trust ourselves. Because I'm scared if I share my idea with you, you will steal it. And we need to have a critical mass who will say, look, we've had enough of this. Can we be truthful to ourselves? And can we have a whole new discussion on how to do business in our country?
And how do you reconcile that lack of trust to the values that you're asking that we need to build?
I'm sure Multi-TV, you guys have your own value system. I'm sure you can't be late for work. If you're coming on the set, there are certain things you need to do. All of these things are values. They are standards you guys uphold. Now, the argument we are having is, as businessmen, whether we are into clothing or whether we are into advertising or events management or we are into banking, can we hold ourselves to common standards by which we can say, look, if you don't live up to this standard, we can't work with you. And it's high time we get hard on ourselves. We tend to be easy on ourselves. You know, somebody comes to work, he comes late and it's okay, it's nothing. We need to be hard on each other. We need to be hard on ourselves. And that's the only way you can employ good talent to come and work with you. If somebody finishes or completes KNUST and comes to work and he dresses shabbily and it's okay for you, what standards are you creating? But if we have the rules and it goes around all the companies we're talking about, then you can't jump from one company to the other, because if you go to company A, they'll push you out.
And all these are going to come up at your conference.
We are discussing all of these.
When is it?
It's tomorrow at the Best Western Premier Hotel in Airport from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And which people are coming?
So we have people like Martin Mensah, the UT Group CEO. We have Edward Boateng from ETV Silverbird. We have Kofi Dadzi from Rankard Solutions. We have people from AGI and young businesses and young people also coming for these discussions. We also have some corporate bodies like Vodafone, ServLed, Invest in Africa, Airtel, and all of them mounting exhibitions. There is a company called Invest in Africa. They'll be doing a special seminar on Friday for SMEs wanting to work with big corporate entities.
All right. Thank you very much for being here with us in the studio. And of course, we've been talking about SMEs and, you know, some change that needs to be implemented in order to get these businesses here in Ghana to grow. This is still News Desk.